Captain Elias Stone stood on the bridge of his ship, the Liberty, watching the screens that showed space around Earth. 3 days ago, everything had been normal. Ships came and went from the space stations. People lived their lives on the planet, below. The solar system was peaceful. Then they came. 12 massive ships appeared out of nowhere, each one bigger than anything humans had ever built. They were golden and smooth, like someone had carved them from solid metal. No engines could be seen, but they moved through space as if the laws of physics meant nothing to them. "Captain, we're getting a message," said Lieutenant Lisa Chang from her station. Her voice was steady, but Elias could hear the fear underneath. "Put it through," Elias said. The main screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at something that was clearly not human. The creature was tall and thin, made of what looked like living crystal. Light moved through its body in patterns that hurt to watch for too long. When it spoke, the words came out perfectly clear, as if it had been speaking English all its life. "I am High Arbiter Zix Thera of the Galactic Council. We come with greetings to the species called humans. Your time of isolation is over. You will join the galactic community." Elias felt his stomach drop. This was what every science fiction movie had warned about, but somehow it felt more real and more terrible than any movie could make it. "We request the presence of your leaders aboard our vessel for discussions about your future," the alien continued. "This is not optional." The message ended, leaving the bridge in complete silence. 2 hours later, Elias found himself in a shuttle heading toward the largest alien ship. He was not supposed to be there. Ambassador Helen Carter was leading the talks, and Elias was just there to observe and make sure the humans stayed safe. But something in the alien's voice had made him insist on coming along. The inside of the alien ship was just as strange as the outside. The walls seemed to glow with their own light, and the floor felt soft under their feet, even though it looked like metal. They were led through corridors that seemed to stretch on forever, past rooms filled with creatures that looked like nothing from Earth. The meeting room was huge, with a ceiling so high it disappeared into darkness. Around a massive table sat beings that seemed to come from every nightmare and dream humans had ever had. There were things that looked like giant insects, others that seemed to be made of gas and light, and creatures covered in fur or scales or things that had no name. At the head of the table sat High Arbiter Zixathara, even more impressive in person than on the screen. Next to it sat other beings that were clearly important, their bodies decorated with symbols and lights that probably meant ranks or titles. "Welcome, humans," Zixathara said as they entered. "Please sit. We have much to discuss." Ambassador Carter took the lead seat with Elias sitting behind her. She was a skilled diplomat who had handled tough negotiations all over Earth, but Elias could see that she was out of her depth here. "We are honored by your visit," Carter began carefully. "Earth is interested in peaceful contact with other species." A sound came from one of the insect-like creatures that might have been laughter. "Peace," it clicked. "Yes, that is what we are here to discuss." Zixathara raised one crystalline hand and the room fell silent. "Humans, your species has reached a level of development that requires intervention. You have nuclear weapons, space, travel, and artificial intelligence. Left alone, you will become a threat to yourselves and others." "We've managed to avoid destroying ourselves so far," Carter said. "Barely," said another alien, this one looking like a cloud of purple gas. "Your history is filled with violence and war. Your nature is aggressive and unpredictable." Zixathara nodded. "This is why the Galactic Council has developed protocols for species like yours. You will be given membership in our community, but certain changes must be made." The High Arbiter gestured, and a holographic display appeared in the air above the table. It showed Earth, then images of human cities, armies, and weapons. "First, all military technology must be surrendered to Council control. Weapons, warships, defense systems, everything." Elias felt his hands clench into fists under the table. "Second, your species must undergo genetic modification to reduce aggressive tendencies. This is a simple process that will make you more suitable for civilized society. The display changed to show what looked like laboratories and medical equipment. Third, 70% of your population must be relocated to designated worlds, where they can be properly supervised and educated in galactic customs. The final image showed humans being loaded onto ships, their faces blank and emotionless. Ambassador Carter was quiet for a long moment. And if we refuse? Refusal is not an option, Zixthera said simply. Species that refuse council guidance become threats to galactic peace. Such threats are eliminated. The room fell silent again. Elias could hear his own heartbeat in his ears. You have 1 solar cycle to prepare, the High Arbiter continued. Our enforcement fleets will arrive to begin the process. This meeting is simply to inform you of what will happen. That was when Elias could not stay quiet anymore. He stood up from his chair, the sound echoing in the huge room. Every alien eye turned to him. With respect, Your Honor, he said, his voice cutting through the artificial air of the chamber. Humanity did not claw its way to the stars just to kneel before anyone. Ambassador Carter shot him a warning look, but Elias kept talking. We have faced extinction before. Ice ages that should have killed us. Diseases that wiped out most of our people. Wars that nearly destroyed our civilization. Our own stupidity and mistakes. Each time we adapted. We fought. We survived. You think our violence is a flaw, but it is what kept us alive when gentler species would have died out. High Arbiter, Zixthera's crystalline form seemed to shimmer, and the light patterns inside it moved faster. Captain Stone, your species' defiance is exactly why the Council's intervention is necessary. You will comply, or face the consequences of your isolation. Elias looked around the room at all the alien faces staring at him. Some looked angry, others seemed curious, and a few appeared almost sad. But none of them looked like they were going to change their minds. He smiled, but there was no happiness in it. Then I guess we will face those consequences. The shuttle ride back to Earth was silent. Ambassador Carter stared out the window at the alien ships, her face pale. Captain Elias Stone sat beside her, his mind racing with everything they had just heard. You should not have spoken like that, Carter said finally. We need to be careful with them. Careful? Elias turned to look at her. They just told us they plan to cut up our people, take away our weapons, and scatter us across the galaxy like pets. What part of that deserves careful? Carter had no answer. When they landed on Earth, chaos was already spreading. News of the alien arrival had leaked to the media. People around the world were watching the golden ships through telescopes and wondering what they wanted. Governments were calling emergency meetings. Military bases were going to high alert. President Patricia Wells called Elias and Carter to Washington immediately. They met in a secure room deep under the White House along with Admiral Roy Harper, the head of Earth Defense Command, and a dozen other important people. Tell me everything, President Wells said. Carter gave her report first, explaining the alien demands in careful diplomatic language. When she finished, the room was quiet. So they want to turn us into slaves, said Admiral Harper. He was an old man who had fought in 3 wars and did not believe in soft words. They say it is for our own good, Carter replied. That is what every tyrant in history has said, Elias spoke up. They want to break us down and rebuild us as something that will not fight back. Senator Gary Mitchell, who was known for always trying to avoid conflict, shook his head. But what choice do we have? Their technology is hundreds of years ahead of ours. If we fight them, they will destroy us. Maybe, said Elias. But maybe not. Over the next few days, the world split into 2 groups. Half the people wanted to cooperate with the aliens, scared of what would happen if they refused. The other half wanted to fight no matter the cost. Dr. Maya Patel, Earth's best expert on alien life, spent hours studying the recordings of the meeting. She was a small woman with dark hair who spoke quietly, but was smarter than almost anyone else on the planet. I have been looking at everything we know about the species on that council, she told Elias when he visited her lab. There is a pattern. What kind of pattern? She pulled up images on her computer screen. Every one of these species used to be warriors, The insect creatures, the Kretak, were once fierce fighters who conquered dozens of worlds. The gas beings, the Vorthak, used to be pirates who raided entire star systems. Elias leaned forward. Used to be? That is the strange part. All of them stopped fighting at exactly the time they joined the Council. Not slowly, not gradually. Overnight, they became peaceful members of galactic society. You think the Council did something to them? I think the Council did exactly to them what they want to do to us. While Dr. Patel worked on understanding, the aliens' commander Jake Morrison helped Elias organize resistance efforts. Jake had been Elias's second-in-command for 5 years, and they trusted each other completely. The good news is that most of the military is with us, Jake reported. The bad news is that we are divided everywhere else. Some countries want to fight, others want to surrender. What about our defenses? We have maybe 200 ships that could fight in space. The aliens have 12 ships, but each one is probably worth 50 of ours. The breakthrough came from an unexpected place. Lieutenant Lisa Chang, the communications officer who had first received the alien message, was monitoring radio signals from the alien fleet. She had always been good with electronics and codes, but now she was working harder than she ever had in her life. "Captain, you need to see this," she called Elias to her station. "What did you find?" "The aliens have been talking to each other, and they thought we could not understand them. But I figured out how to decode their signals." Lisa played a recording. The voices were alien, but the computer translated them into English. "The humans are more resistant than expected," one voice said. "It does not matter," replied another. "We need them for the war effort. Their military innovations are exactly what we require. But can we control them after integration? We must. The Devourers are adapting faster than we anticipated. We need the human chaos factor, but contained within our command structure." Elias felt his blood run cold. War effort? Devourers? Lisa nodded. "There is more. Listen to this." Another recording played. "How many species have we processed this way? 47 successful integrations. Each one provided unique advantages against the Devourer threat. And the humans will be number 48? If they cooperate. If not, we will take what we need from their remains." Elias stared at the screen. Everything was becoming clear now. "They are not trying to help us," he said slowly. "This council is fighting a war, and they are losing. They have been collecting warrior species and turning them into soldiers they can control." "That is what it sounds like," Lisa agreed. Elias called an emergency meeting of all the military leaders who were willing to resist. They met on the Liberty, orbiting high above Earth where they could talk without being overheard. "We have been thinking about this wrong," Elias told the assembled captains and generals. "The aliens do not want to destroy us. They need us. That gives us power." Admiral Harper frowned. "What kind of power?" "The power to make them fight on our terms instead of theirs." Dr. Patel joined the meeting by video link from her lab. "I have more information about this enemy they are fighting. The Devourers appear to be some kind of species that consumes other life forms. The Council has been fighting them for thousands of years, and losing," added Commander Morrison. "Yes. Which means they are desperate enough to risk adding an uncontrolled species like us to their forces." Senator Mitchell, who had also joined the video call, spoke up. "Even if all this isn't true, we still face the same problem. We cannot win a direct fight against them." Elias smiled for the first time in days. "Who said anything about a direct fight?" He stood up and looked around the room at the faces of Earth's defenders. "Our ancestors did not beat the Ice Age by being stronger than the cold. They did not survive plagues by being immune to disease. They did not defeat tyrants by having bigger armies. They won by being smarter, more flexible, and more stubborn than anything that tried to kill them." Captain Linda Hayes, who commanded the Lunar Defense Forces, leaned forward. "What are you suggesting?" "I am suggesting we do what humans do best. We adapt. We improvise. We refuse to give up. And we show these aliens that there is a big difference between joining their club and being absorbed by it." Admiral Harper was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. The aliens gave us 1 solar cycle to prepare, he said. That is about 11 months in human time, not long to get ready for a war. Then we had better get started, Elias replied. As the meeting broke up and the participants returned to their commands, Elias remained on the bridge of the Liberty, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, alien fleets were preparing to come and force humanity into submission. But humanity had never been good at submission. In 11 months, the Galactic Council would learn that the hard way. 11 months passed faster than anyone wanted. Earth had changed during that time. Every major city now had underground shelters. Factories that once made cars and computers now made weapons and armor. Children practiced air raid drills in schools. The night sky was full of human ships, more than had ever been built before. Captain Elias Stone stood on the bridge of the Liberty, watching the scanners. Today was supposed to be the day of humanity's surrender. Instead, it would be the day the war began. Captain, long-range sensors are picking up movement, Lieutenant Lisa Chang reported. Multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. How many? 50, 60. Still counting. Sir, there are over 100 ships out there. Elias felt his stomach tighten. The original 12 ships had been joined by a massive fleet. But he had expected this. Send the message to all commands, he ordered. Operation Defiance is now active. Across the solar system, human forces received the signal. On Earth, defense satellites powered up their weapons. On the Moon, Colonel Steve Parker prepared his missile batteries. On Mars, the colonists sealed their domes and armed their defense systems. In the asteroid belt, mining ships converted into warships took their positions. The alien response came quickly. Hi, Arbiter. Zixthera's voice filled every communication channel on every human device. Humans of Earth, your time of compliance has arrived. Surrender your weapons and prepare for integration into galactic society. Resistance will result in the destruction of your species. Elias opened a channel that would broadcast to every human ship and station in the system. This is Captain Elias Stone of the Earth Defense Forces. 11 months ago, they told us to kneel. Today, we give them our answer. We are human. We do not kneel. The first shots came from the alien fleet. Beams of energy that looked like golden lightning struck Earth's orbital platforms. The humans had built extra armor and shields, but the alien weapons were still incredibly powerful. 3 stations exploded in the first minute of fighting, but the humans were ready. They had spent months studying the alien ships and weapons. From the diplomatic meetings, Dr. Maya Patel had helped design new types of armor that could absorb some of the energy. The attacks hurt, but they did not destroy everything. All ships attack pattern Delta, Elias commanded. Hit them fast and get out. Human ships swarmed toward the alien fleet. They were smaller and faster than the golden vessels, and they attacked, like angry wasps. Captain Ben Lewis led a squadron of fighters that dove between the alien ships, firing missiles and then speeding away before the aliens could respond. The aliens had expected an easy victory. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that would not stay still long enough to be killed, but the humans were still outgunned. For every alien ship they damaged, they lost 3 of their own. Commander Amy Foster watched her squadron get torn apart as they tried to protect a civilian transport. We cannot keep this up, Admiral Roy Harper told Elias over the communication system. We are losing too many ships. That was when the aliens made their biggest mistake. Frustrated by human resistance, they began attacking civilian targets on Earth. Energy beams struck New York, London, and Beijing. Millions of people died in seconds. The attacks were meant to break human spirit. Instead, they made humanity angrier than they had ever been. They want to see what humans do when we are really mad, Elias said, his voice cold with fury. Let us show them. The counterattack began with Captain Linda Hayes of the Lunar Defense Force. Her ship, the Guardian, had been badly damaged in the fighting. Most of her crew was dead or wounded. Her weapons were offline. By all military rules, she should have retreated. Instead, she did something no sane person would try. She aimed her crippled ship directly at the largest alien vessel and pushed her engines to maximum power. "Linda, what are you doing?" Admiral Harper demanded over the radio. "Something stupid," she replied. "Tell my family I love them." The Guardian smashed into the alien dreadnought's docking bay at full speed. Linda had set the fusion reactor to overload just before impact. The explosion tore through the alien ship like a knife through paper. For the first time since the fighting began, a major alien vessel was destroyed. The sight of the burning alien ship changed everything. Humans across the system realized their enemy could be hurt. More importantly, they could be killed. Dr. Kevin Torres, working from a secret laboratory on Europa, had been studying pieces of alien technology recovered from the diplomatic shuttles. He discovered that the aliens' energy shields had a weakness. They were designed to stop direct attacks, but they could not handle certain types of interference. If we can disrupt their shield frequency, their own weapons will overload their defenses, he explained to Elias over a secure channel. "How do we do that?" "Music." "What?" "Their shields work by creating perfect harmonies in the energy field. But human music, especially jazz and rock, has mathematical irregularities that their systems cannot process. If we broadcast it at the right frequency, it will confuse their computers." It sounded crazy, but humans had tried crazy ideas before. Within hours, every human ship and station was loading their communication arrays with the loudest, most chaotic music humanity had ever created. The next attack was unlike anything in the history of warfare. Human ships charged toward the alien fleet while blasting everything from classical symphonies to heavy metal rock. The aliens' perfect golden ships suddenly found their shields flickering and failing as their computers tried to make sense of the mathematical chaos of human art. Lieutenant Danny Cooper, a young engineer aboard the Liberty, discovered that certain songs worked better than others. Jazz music with complex rhythms caused the alien shields to pulse wildly. Rock music with heavy bass made their weapons misfire. Classical music with sudden tempo changes made their navigation systems glitch. "Load up everything we have," Elias ordered. "If they want to hear human culture, let us give them a concert they will never forget." The Battle of Saturn's rings became the turning point. Human ships surrounded the alien fleet and attacked from all directions while broadcasting. A symphony of chaos. The aliens, who had conquered dozens of worlds with their superior technology, found themselves helpless against an enemy that fought with music as well as missiles. Commander Paul Anderson led a squadron that used synchronized music to create sound waves that actually cracked the hull of an alien cruiser. The sight of an enemy ship being destroyed by a rock and roll concert was something no one would ever forget. But the humans paid a heavy price for their victories. Half their fleet was gone. Earth's cities lay in ruins. Mars colonies were running out of air. The moon bases were down to their last ammunition. As the alien fleet retreated to regroup, Elias knew this was only the beginning. The Council would send more ships, bigger weapons, deadlier attacks. Humanity had won the first battle, but the war was far from over. "Status report," he called to his bridge crew. "We have 37 ships still capable of fighting," reported Commander Jake Morrison. "Earth defense grid is at 20% capacity. Casualties are significant." Elias looked out at the burning remains of ships, both human and alien, floating in the darkness of space. They had proven they could fight the Galactic Council. They had shown that humans would not be easily conquered. But somewhere out there, more alien fleets were probably already heading toward Earth. "Send a message to all surviving commands," Elias said. "Tell them to prepare for the next wave, and tell them that humanity is still here, still fighting, and still free." The war had begun, and there was no turning back. 3 weeks after the Battle of Saturn's rings, everything changed again. Lieutenant Colonel Tony Clark was leading a raid on an alien supply base when his team captured something they had not expected: a living alien. The creature was not like the crystal beings or insect warriors they had seen before. This one looked almost like a human, but with blue skin and silver eyes. It had been working alone on some kind of communication device when Clark's soldiers found it. "Do not kill me," the alien said in perfect English when they surrounded it. I am not your enemy. Clark was suspicious. All aliens are our enemies right now. No, the creature shook its head. I am Kethavar of the Alterian people. We were like you once. We fought the council when they came to our world. And now you work for them? The alien's silver eyes filled with something that looked like sadness. Now we have no choice. They brought Kethavar to a secret prison facility on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. Captain Elias Stone came to question the prisoner personally. He brought Dr. Maya Patel with him, hoping her knowledge of alien biology might help. The interrogation room was small and cold. Kethavar sat at a metal table, his hands chained but his eyes alert. Why should we believe anything you tell us? Elias asked. Because I remember what it was like to be free, Kethavar replied. My people fought the council for 50 years. We thought we were strong. We thought we could win. What happened? They did not destroy us. They broke us. Slowly, carefully, over many years. They took our leaders and changed them. They modified our children so they could not feel anger. They moved our families to different worlds so we could not organize. By the time we realized what was happening, it was too late. Dr. Patel leaned forward. The genetic modifications we heard about? Not just genetic. Mental, emotional, spiritual. They take everything that makes a species unique and dangerous, and they reshape it to serve their purposes. Elias felt a chill run down his spine. How many species have they done this to? All of them. Every member of the Galactic Council was once a free, independent race. Now they are all servants, even though most of them do not realize it anymore. But why? What do they need so many different species for? Kethavar was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke in a voice so low they could barely hear him. The Devourers. Dr. Patel and Elias exchanged glances. They had heard this name in the intercepted communications, but they still did not understand what it meant. Tell us about the Devourers, Elias said. They come from outside our galaxy, Kethavar explained. They are not really alive in the way. We understand life. They are more like a disease that spreads from star to star, consuming everything in their path. Planets, ships, entire civilizations. Nothing can stop them once they arrive in a system. How long has the Council been fighting? Them? 3,000 years. And we are losing. The room fell silent. Finally, Dr. Patel spoke up. If the Council has been fighting for 3,000 years with hundreds of species helping them, how are they still losing? Because the Devourers learn. Every time we develop a new weapon or strategy, they adapt to counter it. Every time we think we have found their weakness, they change. The Council needs something they have never had before. What? Chaos. Unpredictability. The ability to do things that make no sense, Elias understood. They need humans. Yes, your species does not think the way others do. You make decisions that no logical mind would make. You fight in ways that break every rule of warfare. The Council has studied your history, your art, your music, your wars. They believe human chaos might be the key to defeating the Devourers. But they also want to control us. They are afraid of you. A species that can think outside all known patterns is dangerous to everyone, including the Council itself. So they plan to break you first, then use your abilities while keeping you under control. Dr. Patel was taking notes on her electronic pad. How close are the Devourers to reaching this part of the galaxy? Kethavar's face grew even paler. They are already here. The Council has been hiding this from all member species, but the outer colonies have been going silent one by one. Long-range scouts estimate 6 months before they reach the core worlds. 6 months, Elias repeated. And the Council is still wasting time trying to conquer us? They are desperate. They believe they cannot win without human help, but they also cannot risk letting humans remain free. It is a problem with no good solution. That night, Elias called an emergency meeting of all surviving human leaders. The news about the Devourers changed everything they thought they knew about their situation. So we have 2 enemies, Admiral Roy Harper said after hearing the report. The Council wants to enslave us and the Devourers want to eat us. It gets worse, Dr. Patel added. If the Devourers are as dangerous as Kethvar says, they will eventually reach Earth whether we fight the Council or not. President Patricia Wells, joining the meeting by secure video link from her bunker, looked exhausted. What are our options? Commander Jake Morrison spoke up. We could try to make a deal with the Council. Fight the Devourers together. On their terms, Elias said, which means accepting their control over humanity. But if we do not, and the Devourers win, humanity dies anyway, Senator Gary Mitchell pointed out. Elias was quiet for a long time, thinking. Finally, he looked up at the others. There is a third option. We make our own deal, on our own terms. What do you mean? Admiral Harper asked. We contact the Council directly, not as surrendering humans, but as equals offering an alliance. We help them fight the Devourers, but humanity remains free and independent. You think they will agree to that? Elias smiled grimly. They are desperate and running out of time. If we can prove that free humans fight better than controlled ones, they might not have a choice. Dr. Patel nodded slowly. It is risky. If we reveal what we know about the Devourers, we lose the advantage of surprise. But if we do nothing, we lose everything anyway. The decision was made. Elias would send a message to High Arbiter Zix Thera, proposing a meeting to discuss new terms. Not surrender, but partnership between equals. As the meeting ended and the idea leaders returned to their duties, Elias remained in his quarters staring out at the stars. Somewhere out there, an enemy was coming that threatened not just humanity, but all life in the galaxy. For the first time since the war began, humans and aliens might need to work together. But it would have to be on humanity's terms, or not, at all. The question was whether the Galactic Council would be desperate enough to agree, and whether humanity was strong enough to make the partnership work. Time was running out for everyone. The meeting took place in space, halfway between Earth and the alien fleet. Captain Elias Stone brought his best people aboard a specially built ship that combined human and captured alien technology. High Arbiter Zixathera came with representatives from the major council species. The negotiation room was tense. On one side sat the crystalline aliens who had tried to conquer humanity. On the other side sat the humans who had fought back and survived. You requested this meeting, Captain Stone, Zixthera said, its crystal body pulsing with light. What terms do you propose? Simple ones, Elias replied. Humanity will help you fight the Devourers, but we fight as your allies, not your slaves. The insect-like Kretok representative clicked angrily. Unacceptable. Your species requires guidance and control. Our species requires freedom, Elias shot back. And if you want our help against the Devourers, that is not negotiable, Dr. Maya Patel spoke up. We know about your real situation, the outer colonies going silent, the Devourers adapting to every strategy you try. You are losing this war. Zixathera was quiet for a moment. What makes you think free humans would be more effective than integrated ones? Because we fight differently when we choose to fight, Admiral Roy Harper answered. You have seen what we can do when we are angry and desperate. Imagine what we could accomplish if we were fighting for something we believed in, instead of against something we hated. The negotiations lasted for hours. The Council wanted guarantees that humanity would not become a threat to galactic order. The humans wanted promises that their independence would be respected. Finally, they reached an agreement that neither side was completely happy with, which meant it was probably fair. The first test came sooner than anyone expected. Long-range sensors detected a massive Devourer fleet entering the solar system from the outer edge. The enemy had found Earth while the negotiations were still going on. How many ships? Elias asked Lieutenant Lisa Chang as alerts sounded throughout the combined human-alien fleet. Over 300, sir, and they are unlike anything in our databases. The Devourer ships were black and twisted, looking more like living creatures than machines. They moved through space in ways that seemed to ignore physics, turning and accelerating without visible engines. All ships, this is Captain Stone, Elias broadcast to the mixed fleet. Today we find out if humans and aliens can fight together. as well as we fought against each other. The battle began immediately. The Devourers attacked without warning or communication, their black ships swarming toward the defenders like angry insects. Their weapons were beams of darkness that seemed to eat light itself. The first few minutes went badly. The Council ships tried to use their traditional formation tactics, but the Devourers had seen these strategies before. Enemy vessels slipped through the defensive lines and began tearing apart the golden alien ships. "This is not working," Commander Jake Morrison reported from his position on the right flank. "They know how to counter everything the Council does." That was when Elias made the decision that would change everything. All human ships, ignore the battle plan. Attack using pattern chaos. "Sir?" Morrison sounded confused. "You heard me. Every ship does whatever its captain thinks will work. No coordination, no formation, no plan. Complete chaos." Admiral Harper understood immediately. "Brilliant. They cannot adapt to strategies that do not exist." The human ships broke formation and attacked the Devourers from every direction at once. Captain Monica Reed dove her ship directly through the enemy formation while playing jazz music at maximum volume. Lieutenant Danny Cooper used his engineering knowledge to make his ship's engines pulse in rhythm with rock music, creating shock waves that confused Devourer sensors. The alien ships watched in amazement as the human vessels did things that made no military sense but somehow worked. Captain Ben Lewis flew his fighter backwards while shooting forward, using the confusion to get behind enemy lines. Commander Paul Anderson had his entire squadron attack in a spiral pattern while broadcasting different types of music from each ship. The Devourers, who had adapted to counter every logical strategy, found themselves helpless against enemies who were not using logic at all. "Their coordination is breaking down," Dr. Maya Patel reported from her position analyzing enemy communications. "The human chaos is overloading their collective intelligence." But the real breakthrough came when Lieutenant Danny Cooper made a discovery that would change the course of the war. "Captain, I have been analyzing the Devourer ship hulls," he called over the communication system. "They are not just machines. They are alive, and they respond to certain sound frequencies." "What kind of frequencies?" "Human music, sir. Specifically loud human music with heavy bass. It seems to cause them physical pain. Within minutes, every human ship in the fleet was broadcasting the loudest, most aggressive music humanity had ever created." The effect on the Devourers was immediate and dramatic. Their black ships began to twist and writhe as if they were in agony. The Council ships, seeing what the humans were doing, began copying the tactic. Soon the entire mixed fleet was attacking the Devourers with weapons and music at the same time. The battle turned into something that no military academy would ever teach. Ships danced through space while blasting rock and roll. Missiles were timed to explode in rhythm with classical symphonies. Energy beams pulsed in time with jazz improvisations. The Devourers, faced with an attack that combined violence and art in ways their collective mind could not process, began to retreat. For the first time in 3,000 years, they were running from a battle. "They are pulling back," reported Captain Linda Hayes from her new ship. "All enemy vessels are withdrawing from the system." The victory celebration was short-lived. Everyone knew this was just one battle in a much larger war. But it had proven something important. "Free humans fight better than controlled ones," Elias told Zixathera as they met again after the battle. "Your people have been fighting the Devourers with logic and order for 3,000 years, and losing. We fought them with chaos and music for 3 hours, and won." The High Arbiter's crystal form pulsed with what might have been embarrassment. Perhaps the Council has been approaching this war incorrectly. Over the following weeks, the alliance between humanity and the Galactic Council grew stronger. Human tactics and creativity were combined with alien technology and resources. More importantly, other species in the Council began to remember what it felt like to make their own decisions instead of following orders. The war against the Devourers continued, but now it was a different kind of war. Instead of rigid formations and predictable strategies, the Alliance forces used improvisation and surprise. Instead of trying to control their member species, the Council began encouraging them to contribute their unique abilities. Elias Stone became the first human ambassador to the Reformed Galactic Assembly, a new organization that replaced the old Council. But he never forgot the lesson of humanity's resistance. Their greatest strength was not their weapons or their ships, but their refusal to give up the wild, unpredictable spirit that made them human. Years later, when the war against the Devourers was finally won, children throughout the galaxy would learn about the species that taught everyone else that being civilized did not mean being tame. Humanity had joined galactic civilization not by surrendering their nature, but by showing the galaxy that their nature was exactly what civilization needed to survive. And in the end, that made all the difference.